Welcome to All In on Blue. We are a family who is all in on blue, and we hope you are too. What a great weekend to be a BYU fan.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe the best ever.
Yeah.
We had the Yukon Husky game in basketball. It was still a good game. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about TCU. What a fantastic game. We had, of course, Jane Hedegren. We had BYU soccer. We just have so much going on with women's basketball, right? It's a great time to be a BYU fan for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It really
I would
is.
say not the best ever. I think the best yet is coming. There's a lot to look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
I love that attitude.
We haven't reached our capital.
Give him some good blue goggles for that comment. Good work.
That's right.
Let's talk real quick about the TCU game. I mean, I'm riding a high. We came off kind of a low against
How
Texas
refreshing.
Tech to a high with TCU. Was that 44-13 win, especially with our offense coming back, was that an anomaly, that offensive production we saw, or was it really just more of a collapse from TCU's defense?
I don't think it can be an anomaly because that's the most points ever scored against TCU this season. And we held them to the least points that they've scored this season. For something like that to happen, I think it means that we just finally had a full game where we were put together the entire time. And this is the BYU we're going to see going forward.
It was pretty much just what I expected. I mean, you know what?
So we talk about
Every single week.
No, I did feel like coming off of Texas Tech, I felt like they were going to rebound. I don't think you go through a loss like that. BYU was better, I think, than they showed at Texas Tech. And I think they came out wanting to show that they weren't that team.
I think this game really showed Bear getting comfortable, especially like passing. I mean, he almost threw for 300 passing yards, and I think we really opened up the playbook, and I think it really shows Bear's potential.
There's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question that they opened up and Bear got a lot more comfortable. You could see it.
And he was standing in the pocket making throws like a quarterback, where he's been making those plays, but it hasn't looked as comfortable as it did Saturday night. I also really, really enjoyed watching the way that BYU's veteran leadership seemed to have that team arrived ready to go. Mm-hmm. And like we talked about last week on the podcast, that BYU last year maybe was in the exact same position and drops 2 of their last 3. Yep. Are we going to let that happen again? And it seems like TCU was good enough to beat us if we weren't going to show up. And we showed up and beat them handily. So that was awesome. What a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good TCU team, right?
No doubt.
Yeah. And BYU came out ready to play from the get-go. And you could tell it was frustrating for TCU also. I think our defense was shutting them down, but then they could not stop us.
What do you mean TCU was a good team? TCU is an amazing team. TCU is probably better than Tech, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State even. They haven't shown it. They've had a few losses. But for BYU to come out and knock off a team that was one of maybe the elite team in college football.
Hey, where are these?
They were in the 14 playoff not too long ago.
That's true.
And when Colorado beat them that next season, Colorado had arrived.
Hey, where's the goggles? Did we pull those out, David?
All things aside, all jokes aside, TCU was a good football team, and BYU now has beat a lot of teams that are going to be playing in bowl games that are good teams.
We're the only team that has only 1 loss and 4 wins against bowl-eligible teams.
Yeah.
Or Power 4 bowl-eligible teams.
Yeah.
It's just us.
And for a long time, it's felt like how good are the teams we're playing, but we keep beating them, and they keep winning games. And so, it's at a certain point, I hope that BYU football gains the respect of the decision makers, right? And we don't need them, right? We can win our way and will our way into the playoffs. But if it does come down to it, I hope that that's taken into account. BYU's beat teams that keep winning games, and that's big for us.
Yeah, well, speaking of the playoffs, who do you think our biggest threat? What team is our biggest threat into getting into the playoffs?
I think Oklahoma. That was terrible for us and Utah to have Oklahoma beat Alabama there.
But Oklahoma can still lose. They still play Missouri and LSU. who are two really good teams.
Yeah.
They could easily lose this week.
Yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma is good. They should have lost to Alabama in that game.
Yeah.
And I think there's a good
And-
chance they lose to Missouri.
And Alabama,
Missouri's playing.
it's still,
well
we'll
right
see how the committee reacts. We're filming this before the college football playoff rankings come out. How will the committee react to Alabama's loss? I mean, I don't want to talk too much about Alabama, but now Alabama's 2 losses, and one of them's to Florida State, who's not going to play in a bowl game.
Yeah.
In a bad conference, Florida State's at the bottom, and they've beat Alabama. And that blows my mind that that's not taken into account more.
Yeah, but early season results don't weigh nearly as heavily as late season results. And
That's why the SEC plays a bunch of cupcakes next week.
The playoff committee is going to say, "Oh yeah, but Alabama lost that early." So
Brutal.
It's a brush off.
Yeah. That's brutal.
Yeah.
You got to take the body of work. You can't. I disagree with that all the way.
Do you think any 3 loss teams get in?
No.
With where things sit?
No.
I don't think
Texas
so.
would be the only one so far.
Unlikely. If
So
it's not
far.
an SEC team,
It's going to be nobody.
there may be one. But I think
What
it's
if it's in-
unlikely,
what if it's
at
in
least
a
where things stand
championship
right
game?
now.
What if it's in like the SEC championship game that they get the 3rd loss?
They say the CFP claims that they ignore the conference championship games.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah. Which, does that help us or hurt us? We'll see after the game. If we make it right. Yeah. Well, getting back
Do
a
we
little
make
bit of the
it?
game, we'll talk about this more because I think it's something that I definitely am interested in talking about and debating with you guys. I think our listeners as well. That's a big, if you're a BYU fan, that's a big thing on the top of your mind is how's this all going to shake out? BYU's game against TCU, how did it leave us feeling going into these next 2 weeks, specifically this week, right?
Yeah.
BYU's offense against Texas Tech looked like it completely laid an egg. And this week, I think our offense looked better than it has all year as far as firing on all cylinders. There wasn't anything we weren't willing to do. LJ was running very well against a defense that's performed pretty well against the run.
We finally got tight ends involved again.
Yeah.
Our defense has been playing lights out
The whole
pretty
year.
much all
And
season.
they did it again.
And they did it again.
They did it again.
Offensively, right? We kind of been up and down. We were kind of like a 6-cylinder, right? Operating. We were good, but then we went to Texas Tech, and I don't know what happened, but it was like 4 of our cylinders stopped firing. And then all of a sudden, I feel like in that game against TCU, not only did we come out with all of our cylinders firing, but we upgraded to a V8. I mean, we looked good.
We did.
And I know Texas Tech has a great defense, and they did some things, but I think they rattled us early. We played scared, but we responded properly coming into TCU. We responded not by wondering if we were going to make mistakes, coming into this game afraid of messing up. Whatever they did during the week, what the coaching staff did to rebuild the confidence of this team and say, let's take what happened with Texas Tech. Let's use that as fire to come in at TCU. They came in on firing on all cylinders.
So one thing I noticed during the game, and I don't know if it's, to that comment, but it seemed like to me maybe the playbook was more open, but Bear, and again, maybe it was just he had more time. There's a lot of things it could have been, but Bear was making more reads. You could see him checking through reads, and instead of just 1 or 2, you could see him. And I think that's sometimes why he hit Ryan on those plays. He wasn't Tiger, the first. Yeah,
I mean Hagan was out, but Tiger was in there in place of Hagan. But I think Tiger was getting as many looks and passes, probably more than Hagan was getting prior to being out. Right,
it's because he's his brother.
And then Kalani
should have
the playbook.
They're smarter than you think.
Well, I think what we've talked about is they wanted to bring him along, and I think that was wise. Maybe it hurt us. I don't know in the Texas Tech game, but man, I mean, what a great time. He's prepared. He's got confidence, and it seemed like they opened it up.
Well, you're also to the point in the season where if you're not going to open your playbook, you're not going to win a conference championship.
Right.
I would also agree with what you said is that the Texas Tech game, if there was any sort of reservation of, okay, We don't know if he's ready for this or that. That's out the window. Because if we're not going to play to win these games, and that's been mentioned a lot by BYU players and staff. Tanner Wall mentioned in his interview, if we're not going to play to win these games, then we're not going to win them. Last year, maybe we were playing not to lose, right? And we ended up losing. So if Bear's not going to have the whole playbook in his arsenal, then, what's the point? We're not going to beat Texas Tech without it. And I think we can beat Texas Tech, but not without Bear Bachmeier firing on all cylinders.
Well, I did get a sense in this game from the way we came out and the way we really finished the game, at least for the first 3 quarters, that we were coming out with the coaching staff and the players to say, we're good and we're going to make a statement and we're going to show why we deserve to be in the playoff versus early on in the season, even though we could win, I kind of felt like we were playing it safe sometimes. Safe at times to protect Bear.
To just win.
Just win,
we
baby.
just need what we need. Just need to win. And not to say that they came into this to run up the score, because clearly at the end of that game, they were not trying to run up the score. They were trying to use the clock. But I did get a sense in that game that they're like, we're out here to prove something. We got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, and we're going to show everybody who BYU football really is.
So with that said, do you think this was like our biggest statement game for the,
This is the first time in the Kalani Sitake era that we've had a 30-plus point win against a Power 4 team. So I would say this is a statement win. And I think, to talk about what we were saying earlier, like, this is the time a championship team steps up. After a loss, when you're needing to peak at the end of the season, this is a championship mentality and championship type win to peak right now and say, here we are, don't forget us, you can't leave us out. We deserve to be in the playoffs.
Which is what you see all across the country, right?
Yeah.
There are good teams that have lost a game and they lose and they come back strong and they look great. And hopefully everyone recognizes that, TCU lost, right? Now nobody's doubting TCU. They came back and they've been winning. They've been winning big games. And hopefully everyone can see that too, that BYU is a very talented team that can win big versus, everyone was kind of talking about us as we're just barely winning. We're barely beating Colorado. So I think a nice blowout win is a good statement to make. So
against a team that's better than Colorado.
Yeah.
Like a TCU is on that kind of upper echelon of teams in the Big 12.
Yeah, everybody expects TCU to be this season, expected them to be competitive, if not for the championship, at least in the top tier of teams, and they are.
Yeah.
TCU's a good team.
The one of the big things too that I noticed about that game was it was a statement win, but it was a necessity to have a statement win because we had a statement loss.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't, and that was a statement win for Texas Tech. There's wins. So look at the BYU basketball game that happened over the weekend. UConn BYU. That was as good of a loss as you can have.
Yeah.
For BYU because you're playing 2 top 10 teams. One of them's going to lose, right? If we lose by 30 to UConn, it's like, oh, they're not in that tier.
Which is, I know we'll get to this.
We'll get there.
Like we might,
no, but that's what I'm saying.
Lose by 30.
But that's what I'm saying is that BYU has. They did not. We talked about it in the preview for Texas Tech. BYU just didn't get off the bus the way they needed to compete with that team.
Yep.
And the way that they bounced back was a statement saying, okay, that wasn't us. That was one game.
That was an off week.
Texas Tech, we will not take away from how good their defense is, right? Texas Tech's a good football team. Texas Tech is looking more and more and more each week like they are maybe the best defense. The best defense in college football.
Best defense. Yeah.
Well, Chase Roberts promised after the game.
He
did.
Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
Chase Roberts made the promise that we will beat Texas Tech in the championship.
But speaking of our offense making a statement, I think if anything, our defense made even a bigger statement.
Oh yeah.
Of 13 points, we had 4 sacks, 3 turnovers. That was just like, what are you guys feeling about our defense after that?
I love Evan Johnson. I think he's our best corner. And when he got that sack, I was like,
That was
I was on my feet
huge.
with all my friends.
Yeah.
He played it so well too. That was fun to watch. And when you're into the boundary like that, it's kind of the offense gets caught off guard by a corner blitz like that because you're so close. The tackle's really not too far from the corner. So Evan, you saw his eyes dead locked in right on the receiver until the snap, and he just boom lights that up. That was huge.
And I don't know if it's something I just started like recognizing more, but we put Jack Kelly man on man against a slot receiver and he'll jam. Like there's nothing you can do with Jack Kelly jamming you off the line.
And Keanu, I think, had his best game that he's had so far. Everybody was looking good.
The thing that's awesome about our defense too is their ability to, I mean, we force field goals in the red zone often, very often. And I mean, last week at Texas Tech, who demolished us, right? But our defense forced 5 field goals. So Texas Tech's getting into the red zone, but they're not necessarily able. BYU's defense is able to hold them to a point where giving up 3 points instead of 7 is huge. And the way our offense played this last week against TCU, if you can hold them to 3 points, our offense is going to make it happen.
Yeah. And you know, defensively, the amount of penetration that our defense was getting in that game. I mean, we had 4 sacks, like you mentioned. We rattled Josh Hoover, who is one of the best pocket passers. I mean, one of the best quarterbacks, complete quarterbacks. We're going to face the same thing coming up, and we'll talk more about that in our next episode at Cincinnati, the kind of quarterback. But Josh Hoover is an outstanding quarterback, and he looked rattled quite a bit for an experienced, complete quarterback like that. And then I gotta give a shout out to Satwala. Man, is that guy the man or what? With those
so
interceptions, tackles. I mean,
so good.
Well,
we always talk about our linebackers and we've got so many great defensive players, but Satwala is right up there.
Isn't he
one
leading
of the
us in
best.
tackles?
I think he's leading us in tackles.
Yes,
well,
he
he
is.
was.
and with
I
all
think he
these
still
great
is.
things, we haven't even brought up Tanner Wall's pick 6.
Yeah.
Like,
Fun to see
was a
him get
gift.
into the end zone again. Yeah, that was really
Tanner Wall, a friend of the show.
that's really an exclamation point we needed. Tanner's a stud. He's awesome. It's fun to see that, and then he's got the grass covering his whole
They kept coming
Let's
back
talk
to
about Zero chasing him.
He's hauling.
That boy was fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was a big boy chasing him.
Was he one of their linebackers? Oh,
I think he was one of the linebackers.
Well,
No,
he
it was their offense. It was,
probably.
it was their tight end. He was their tight end.
Tight end,
He was their tight end. Yeah. But hey, we was moving, man.
Yeah.
Coming down there.
That was a fun game that we needed as Cougar fans to remind us how good we are, how good we can be, and what the future could hold as long as we keep playing the way we know to play. I say we. I mean our Cougars, right? We act like
We are. We're all in.
we're all in on blue. Yeah.
So who was your MVP of that game? Yeah,
It's tough to name a player.
I named Bear. It's easy to name him, but that was his most complete game by a long shot. And he was doing it all in a bunch of different ways. Bear Bachmeier's my MVP.
He still kept using his legs, even though his arm was working and everything looked
I
good.
hope he doesn't stop.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I hope he
might
doesn't stop.
name A-Rod.
Good.
Like,
I like it.
we saw every kind of look. We were constantly switching up. We've talked about how, like, we've had drives where it's all running and drives where it's all passing. And we had everything was thrown in on every drive. It felt like they were constantly changing it up. I felt like that was maybe A-Rod's best, most complete game. And maybe that's because they finally just said,
Well,
whatever.
I really like that call in A-Rod because A-Rod always gets the blame. He's easy to blame when we have a rough offensive game, right? He deserves it when we come out like that.
And it's so funny
agree
when
with that.
it's so funny when we lose a game and you see on Twitter or whatever, get rid of A-Rod. He's terrible. What do you mean? We've won 8-9 games now. You know, he's done super well.
Well, I think we're all feeling the same way because as good as our defense has been and constantly is, I think this was a little bit of a breakout game for the offense. And, you know, my thought was the whole offense, right? Like which is kind of what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
It's the quarterback. It's the offensive coordinator. We just felt like our offense finally moved and really took off.
Well, and the fact that we could run, because I think they're the third best run defense in the nation. And we were able to run
we
on
were-
them.
Well, we 150. Well, we were 162 yards before the the punt that was dropped, and we lost 11 yards on that play. I mean, Shirts. I mean, nothing against Shirts coming in, right? He had the poor guy. I mean, come on. I mean,
Oh man.
I'm not sure what happened there, but we love you.
It gave us the
going.
opportunity
Don't
for
get
the
down on
Tanner Law
that. But
pick
yeah.
six.
Yeah, exactly. We needed that.
Yeah.
We needed the crowd to get hyped over something more
We
than just
still
a
ended-
punt.
And how awesome was that? That our crowd up 30 forced two false starts in a row
Right at the end of the game.
because we're so
Because we were so loud.
Like,
Yeah.
who does that?
What fans do that?
Shout out to the
fans.
Rock and all the fans,
Well, and
because
ES
that's crazy to do.
The second MVP
It's
is
like
The Rock.
11:30 p.m.
11:30 at night, up 30.
Man.
The game's decided, and we're forcing false starts
false
because
starts
we're
'cause of
so
loud
loud.
noise.
And even the announcers noticed. They were like, man, I have never seen anything like this at the end of a blowout
As
game.
a fairly new father, I can only imagine how much the neighbors that aren't all in on blue next to LaVell Edwards Stadium every week when we play at midnight.
Are you kidding?
They're like-
Are there any not all in on blue fans next to?
You're right.
That's true. I lived
If
I
you
lived
live
at a
close to it, you gotta
Stadium
be all in.
150 right there next to it.
yeah.
That was actually
Everyone's
my
all in on
favorite
blue.
thing was just how close it was.
You could hear
I love
it
that I
roar.
could just walk there and then walk back home. It was like a 3-minute.
So there's this house. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's this house. I think it's just rented out to students.
I think it's the Durant.
up
house.
on top of the that plateau
Yeah, I
next to Stadium 150.
I think it's the Durants.
The Durants.
Mark Durant.
Was that that's his house?
I think
I've
so.
been wanting to buy that house. It was just the first time I drove up there, man. It's got incredible views all the way around. You can see into the stadium. That's the Durant's house?
Yeah, I think so, but I might be wrong.
I gotta go talk to him, see if he's willing to sell.
They did build
to sell
that
for-
new big complex there, and he may not have as good.
Not have as good a view, but yeah.
Say, hey, I'm willing to buy for cheap.
I was just going to bring up special teams, being that I felt like special teams against Texas Tech really fell apart. How do we feel about our special teams, and are they back, or how'd you feel this
There
week?
was no Shanks.
A lot better. Yeah. I mean,
Plus, I feel like our
guess
offense
so.
was
well,
moving
there
the
was
ball.
there was the punt, but
We ignore that one.
yeah, I mean he was coming. He was getting some experience. First time out on the field. No blame.
My thoughts been, we've been good all year. We had a really rough game, so I don't think there's anything like inherently wrong with our special teams. We just had a bad game.
And Will it was like a 52-yarder.
Yeah. We'll bounce back. Yeah, I mean he had a great.
52 yards. That's a good kick.
Good, because he's coming for my 64-yarder at some point in the season. Come on, Will.
Will
Need you.
Farron's still one of the best kickers in the country.
Yeah.
And we were spoiled. So he misses one. We're like, oh. Remember, Will Farron is legit. He could be playing on Sundays very easily.
Yeah.
So
So we gave kudos to all of our MVPs in the game on the team. Maybe it's time to give some kudos to our own MVP from the predictions from last week for a TCU game, and I think the winner goes to Keith.
I'm pretty sure it was me.
Prediction.
Yeah.
All
man,
right, so giving up
It
the
probably
belt
should
from
be me
Isaac.
every week. Oh, man.
Should be.
Look at that.
Wow.
Nice win.
nice. You deserve it.
Way to go.
Hats off.
He predicted the blowout. It was pretty close. What did you pick? 38 to 17?
41.
41 to 17?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Pretty close. Somewhere
darn
right in
close.
there.
Yeah.
So
Did you had it spot on one week, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to lie.
oh yeah.
We are
Oh yeah, we did.
at All In on
We
Blue. We are
sometimes-
100% honest, and I'm not going to lie. I was spot on one
Not to
week.
take away from yours. Not to take away
This
from
is
yours
about me,
at all.
guys. It's about me.
Yeah, I'm not taking away from it. Great job. You got close, just not that close. Just not that close. Let's move into a little bit. I want to touch on playoff picture just a little bit more. We mentioned it. Is BYU, have we put ourselves into a position where if we have two convincing wins does it leave us in the playoff picture, even with a loss to Texas Tech in the conference championship game? What are your thoughts? Let's just break it down quickly.
Is it a close
I feel
loss
like
against
we're-
Texas Tech if we win out?
That's
Is
what
it
I want to
close?
discuss. That's what I want to discuss.
I think if it's a close loss, there's a chance. But we don't control our destiny there because
Then we leave it up to
then
the
we're
committee.
dependent upon how many losses does Oklahoma, how many losses does USC end up with? How many? Right? We
Okay,
need
but
some other
remember,
teams to-
you mentioned that supposedly the college football playoff disregards the conference championship game, right? So if that's the case,
I did say that.
if that's the case,
And that's what they said, and it's only fair, really, that they do, because like, and Oklahoma's not going to play in the SEC championship game, and so would be killer if they get a bump because they don't play that game and don't have an extra loss, and we do.
But it's one thing to discredit it on paper and say we didn't take into account that game. But in the back of their minds, they're
They know.
saying BYU's worthy. Look at how they played Texas Tech, 3
Yeah.
days ago.
Yeah, I mean, if it's another game against Texas Tech like we did have, then
we probably don't deserve to be in there.
But let's just beat Texas Tech because that gives the best shot. I mean,
for two big,
for at least two to get in.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Texas Tech if Texas Tech wins out, right?
yeah. If Texas Tech wins out, I think regardless of what they do in the
They're in.
championship game, so maybe we just need to come to an arrangement with them. Hey,
We both won in.
Red Raiders.
It's
good for the conference,
It's good for the conference.
Red
Just,
Raiders. We'll get all our
that's-
players to walk in with their boots and their hat on, representing Texas. Let us win. Get two big
Hey,
teams
Ed's
in
in
there.
there.
In the
That's your
game,
cheeseburger
that's what happened
game.
in the game last week.
And we'll raise
They were
another
like, "Hey, it's better if
$150,000.
Texas Tech wins this since they already have one loss. Give BYU one loss." I think that's what happened.
it's
in the
been a
Texas Tech
grand
game.
scheme to get two Big 12 teams. In.
Otherwise, how could Chase Roberts guarantee the win?
True.
He's in on it. It's a
And
conspiracy.
He's no liar.
Okay. I think, though, as you look at the Big 12 championship, the problem we have is I think everything you've said is correct, other than they seem to discount BYU on everything, right? Like you look at our strength of record to this point, and it just feels like we're
We have the best strength of record.
yeah, but for a
the
one-loss
conference.
team, they just don't seem to quite give us where I feel like we should be. I mean, BJ, you sent out a text to us, I think, during this week that our strength of record and where we sat, and it was over something like maybe Notre Dame and Oklahoma. I'm trying to remember.
We have the
that.
sixth best strength of record, and we're ranked 11th right now. So
With
or
one
12th,
loss.
or 12th.
Which means
No, we're
that
12th in
really
college football.
with all one loss teams, if you just take and the college football playoff committee says that strength of record is one of their key determining factors of how to place teams.
And Mark Harlan, who's on the committee, he's a man of his word. Right? So the Utah AD, he's going to get
we sure
BYU
hope
in.
he is.
And this was before beating TCU, which I'm sure only improved it for us. But according to ESPN, BYU has a higher strength of schedule than Notre Dame and Ole Miss, and a better strength of record than Texas, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame. Yeah. Typically, strength of record tends to correlate best to CFP rankings. It does in this case, except for BYU, is what the
Yeah.
tweet
It's
said.
true except
Yeah.
for BYU.
Yeah. So,
Is there
it does
some
seem
bias
like-
toward BYU? Is it just BYU? Is it the Big 12? Is it that we just
I think
came
it's
from
some of both.
G5 a couple years ago and
I'm just kind of confused on how Oregon, what are they, 6th?
yeah.
Oregon's a shocker.
I'm not sure.
They're 6th in the AP. They were higher in
They were 9, weren't they?
yeah. 'Cause
When
they were
BYU
behind
was
Texas
7.
Tech.
When BYU was 7, Texas Tech was 8, Oregon was 9.
There's 9. So the CFP does seem to be doing a whole lot better than the AP this year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, it still comes down to maybe I get stuck on this too much, but it feels like, they give a team like Utah, who's same conference, same everything, right? We beat them head to head. They have the same loss to Texas Tech, but it feels like they give them almost that boost and they push us back down.
But do you
Right.
think that's because Utah seems to be incapable of being closer than like 30 points against everybody they beat.
Utah's-
they are
they
blown
They are blown out.
every single person besides their 2 losses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for a minute, is that there's still, prior to at least TCU game, and I think TCU game made a difference in this argument because we finally had a blowout against a good team. There are a lot of people saying BYU gets lucky, right? They're a fraud. They're not as good. And when they finally played a really good team in Texas Tech, they lost pretty badly. They didn't show up. So, there's that argument that if BYU gets into the playoff, even though they're 8-1, even if they went to the conference championship, they went out the rest of the season, and all of a sudden, we find that they go in against Texas Tech, they're not competitive enough to be in the playoff, right? If you're talking that eye test, right? Which the eye test, I'm not sure what the eye test means, but that eye test of, we look at the team, these teams are better, and these teams are blowing out these teams, and BYU's barely winning, kind of a thing. How far do you think BYU could go if they get in the playoff? Let's assuming BYU wins out. Let's say they beat Texas Tech, even the conference championship. How far can BYU go in the playoff?
I think BYU is number 1.
Well, there's a lot that plays into it.
We're winning the whole thing.
There's a lot that plays into it because, yes, it does. The loss to Texas Tech, the way it happened, hurts us, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I mean,
But it's a quality loss.
well, if it was in the SEC, they would have moved us up for playing so well against Texas Tech, right?
We only lost.
Isn't that crazy that seems to happen though?
It is.
It really is like, I mean, you drop a game.
I don't know about a 29-7, but you
I
can
know.
lose by 10 points or a touchdown in your SEC. It's like, hey, that was a quality loss. Move them up.
Exactly. It's just, it's interesting to me how that seems to roll. But BYU, the way that they're shaping up to play, it will definitely be a different level of competition when you're against those top 10 teams. But to say that BYU's defense can't play in the top 10, yes, they can. And to say that BYU's offense isn't really hitting a stride, right? I mean, last night looked great against a good TCU defense. We didn't get off the bus in Lubbock, right? So we had a bad game, but everybody's got a bad game, right? Except Ohio State and Indiana, right? Even Indiana against Penn State, they would say that was our bad game. We just happened to escape with a win.
And A&M yesterday.
A&M as well, right? They happened to escape with that win, but all the other teams, Alabama's lost to Florida State. Florida State's not going to play in a bowl game this year in the worst Power 4 conference by a long shot. And it also hurts us that the ACC's got an automatic bid, right? So someone that's not in the top 12 from the ACC is going to get in.
Not even top 18 the way things are looking.
Somebody that's not ranked from the G5 is going to be in the 12 spot. So BYU's got to be a top 10 team.
We have to be
Possibly.
a top 10.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be
Likely.
Jake Retzlaff.
You think Tulane?
That's my prediction. Jake
James Madison, JMU, though. I don't know.
No, they could.
Texas.
They could. There's
Texas?
No, North Texas.
North
Oh.
Texas. North Texas. Yeah.
North Texas.
Like Texas?
Texas has moved down to
Texas, you've been
G5.
relegated to G5. We call it here at All In on Blue.
No, but I do worry about our team under pressure. I mean, maybe we got out some of those big game day jitters against Texas Tech, having game day there. But I don't know. I feel like in big games, we seem to make more mistakes and
But
I even worry about our
didn't
coaching.
against Utah, and Utah is right there on the edge too. I mean, they're a fringe playoff team.
It's like people forget about that win,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Well, it's
And none of the other, most of the other playoff teams haven't beaten another playoff team. I mean, there's a handful that have, but a good amount of them,
and
Ohio State, I don't think has beaten anybody that's in the playoff picture right now.
don't get it twisted either. Utah, I don't know. There has got to be some bias around because Utah lost just as badly to Texas Tech
Yeah.
at home
Worse, actually.
against their backup quarterback, right? And Will Hammond is a talented player, right? Talented quarterback. I'm not taking anything.
But he wasn't their starter.
But he wasn't their starter. And that was at home for Utah.
Yeah.
And granted, Utah played with them for a longer portion of the game. BYU was down 13 at halftime. So, we can play with those teams. Like it's funny because I bring up, well, BYU's loss wasn't as bad as Utah's, and people will say, oh, well, yeah, but Utah played with them until the fourth quarter. It's like, okay, well, so we played with them until halftime on the road, right? Like,
a good amount of the
third quarter, I still felt like we were playing with them, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting because Utah now, because they've blown out some teams, it's like their loss against Texas Tech's backup quarterback at home is like, oh, that's no big deal. We're climbing them right up. Right. But if that's BYU's only loss is to a Texas Tech team that's firing on all cylinders, and that's going to stain our resume that much, it really makes me question. I disagree with a lot of the way that the committee seems to place teams from different conferences and handle losses from different conferences, and even within the same conference. Right. I hope there's some consistency around.
Do you think it's because Utah scored more, though? Like, because their offense seemed to be an offense, where ours just was so much not an offense?
I don't know. I wonder if it really has more to do. I mean, because we see it with top SEC teams. We see it with top Big Ten teams, right? We're seeing it with teams who were not Big Ten before. We see it with USC. We see it with Oregon, right? Getting that favoritism. I personally think it has more to do with Utah coming from a Power 5 conference, playing with those guys previously, playing with the Oregons, playing with the USC,
playing in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, winning conference championships, playing in two Rose Bowls.
We were just like Notre Dame.
Right? And whereas we have been more recently G5. Yeah, we were independent. Just like Notre Dame. Good point.
Give us the Notre Dame treatment.
Which is also crazy.
Give us 2 bad losses. Well, they weren't terrible, but...
But I think there's some that it's just that it was a long time ago, right? That was early on in the season, and I think people tend to forget.
Let's not get it twisted, though. Utah only scored 10 points. Utah scored 10 points and had barely over 200 yards. So
what was that? 33-10? Was that
34-10?
34-10.
So they got boat raced as well.
Okay.
And Texas
They actually lost by more than we did.
Yeah, and they gave up more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was at home. Like, there's just a lot. And at the end of the day, BYU's shown that if you're going to praise Utah as this team that's potentially going to get in, well, BYU beat them.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And credit to, Utah scored a late touchdown too. So, like, if you're going to say, oh, well, we played with them. Okay, well, we were boat racing a good team until the very end of the game. Right.
My hope is our defense, if our offense had done really anything in that game, our defense, I think, could have held Texas Tech back more from the amount of points that they scored if we ever could have given them good field position or more than 2 minutes off the field, whatever.
It seemed like there were a lot of things that Texas Tech didn't necessarily cause that BYU caused to themselves that beat them in that game. We couldn't overcome them.
Best thing that could happen for the Big 12 right now, and I think there's a possibility of this, is for Utah, BYU, and Texas Tech to all win out in big, good, solid wins from here on out. Have BYU win the conference championship game over Texas Tech, even if it's a close game. I think there would be a strong argument, especially if there's 1 or 2 losses, between Oklahoma, Oregon. I think there's a good chance that there's some losses.
Some of those teams will lose,
and there's going to be a really strong argument for saying, "Hey, the Big 12 deserves three teams in." That would be so great for the Big 12,
and especially if we can then win all 3 of those teams. If they could win the first round, that'd be big for the Big 12.
Huge.
But if you look at our Texas Tech game, let's take David's rationale. If you take away all of our turnovers and you take away all their big plays, we totally could win that game.
Well, turnovers totally change a game.
Yeah.
They're maybe the biggest factor in a game.
Hey, using that same rationale, we almost lost to TCU. Right. Really?
No.
That was a really close game, guys.
You know what I meant by
stripped
that.
away.
Yeah.
Turnovers are the biggest factor in the game, but they're also something that if you could change, right? You can go out and be the most dominant. Look at Oklahoma Alabama game, right? Alabama dominated in so many ways that game.
I think they had
in the trenches offensively, 200 more yards in offense, right? they lost because they turned the ball over. And I'm not saying turnovers don't count. I'm just saying that, right? You can then train. It's easy to identify. Okay, if we fix the turnovers, we are a stronger team.
Especially if you're not a turnover prone team. Like it's hard to fix if you are turnover prone. But like, I mean, Bears thrown four interceptions, and same thing with Alabama. I think it was like Ryan Smith that dropped it.
Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams.
Ryan Smith.
Ryan Smith.
Reincarnated Ryan Smith on that. Roll Tide, Ryan Smith. Go Jazz.
Yeah, Ryan.
Take note.
Ryan Williams, he typically doesn't fumble. I mean, so if you're not a turnover prone team,
you could kind of say against Texas Tech. I give Texas Tech credit. Texas Tech forced turnovers. BYU, who normally takes care of the ball. Texas Tech force more turnovers. It really makes a team look bad. Against TCU, you could say, like you said, I mean, we dominated that game in other ways, but it was a much closer game if it weren't for the turnovers, for sure.
Yeah. But I would say, going back to the Texas Tech game, if you just take our special teams, which normally I would say is a big positive for us, if you took out their mistakes in that Texas Tech game, it is a much, much closer game, I think, right? Like, because you're in it, you're fighting a little different battle than if all of a sudden you feel like you're way down because the punt return, the muff punt return, the bad punts, right? And those are mistakes we rarely make. And I don't think any of those mistakes specifically were caused by Texas Tech, right? Those are mistakes that are just us mistakes.
But they totally changed the momentum of the game.
Oh, yeah.
And set them up to score.
Can I mention something really quickly?
I would love it.
I've been doing my research over here. Okay? I've been doing my research. BYU gets just absolutely bashed because we're barely winning these football games, right? Which there's two sides to that coin. BYU finds ways to win close football games, right?
Which good teams do.
Good teams do.
And we also don't seem to make it a priority to destroy teams.
To blow them out.
We definitely...
Not only not a priority, I think we do everything we can not to blow out
even in that
teams.
TCU game, it felt like we were like, okay, we have this game in hand until...
But thank goodness for Tanner Wall's interception.
Yeah.
Even against Utah, like we didn't kick that field goal for some reason.
How many fans out there were pulling like, we just need one more touchdown to get in the 40s, right? And then Tanner Wall came through for us. Right?
Kalani was like,
I
nope.
was sitting there saying a 40 would make it look a lot better for us.
Kalani was like, nope, love one another. And Tanner Wall was like, nope.
Knowing that if you got that interception, I got the belt, baby.
That was huge
way to
for
go,
you.
Tanner.
That was huge for you.
So just really quickly, just listen to me. Ole Miss beats Kentucky by a touchdown. Kentucky's I think they're winless in the SEC. All right. Ole Miss beats Arkansas by 6 points, 41-35. I think Arkansas is bottom feeding the SEC right now. Ole Miss beats Tulane handily. Ole Miss beats LSU by 5. Ole Miss beats Washington State by 3 points. Georgia beats Ole Miss. Ole Miss beats Oklahoma barely. Ole Miss beats South Carolina. And then Ole Miss beats Florida barely. So, like, there's all these barely wins, and then, Ole Miss is in the SEC. Yeah, no question, Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
nobody's
crazy
talking about they're barely.
It's crazy. And it's like, the SEC is so deep, but it's like, oh my gosh, it's just so
Maybe
It's
the
just-
Big 12 is so deep.
It's just like anything else. You can use stats to prove whatever you want, whether it's accurate or not.
Oh, man.
So now a hypothetical win for the SEC.
The SEC and the Big Ten seem to just have the committee, just
But what BYU's got to do, and the Big 12 by extension.
I'm not going to say that on the air. Not going to say it.
BYU.
By the horns.
By the horns, exactly. By the Longhorns of Texas.
BYU and the Big 12
Thank you.
just need to not give any reason. I mean, that's the answer.
Yeah.
We've got to get to the point where there's no argument. They can't use the stats against us. They can't, because they will.
I hate to say it. This is maybe a bold prediction. BYU will be a one bid team the Big 12 will be a one bid team unless BYU wins the conference championship. or Utah, right? Whoever makes it in, with the state of where things are, the disrespect that it seems we're getting, we've got 3 teams that really deserve to be up there, and I don't think they're all going to get in.
But do you know what's exciting?
Tech's a lock.
You can't
Do you know
really
what's
say-
exciting?
Well,
I think that of any year that I've ever seen, 1 through 12 all have a
Feel.
chance.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's one so dominant in there. You know, there's been
Maybe
years.
Ohio.
Ohio State's pretty
Well, but
But it's
outside of
hard to
Ohio
know
State.
because Ohio State has.
I know Indiana looks still really strong too.
But Indiana almost lost to Penn State, and Penn State's not very good.
Well, but you go through the same exercise you just did with Ole Miss for Ohio State. And yes, they have some good wins, but they're not like dominant. Like there's been some Alabama years where you just knew there was no team that could
Alabama,
compete.
Clemson.
Right. And I'm not saying that Ohio State's not, you know, a great team and maybe they're enough to win it all. But to me, anyway, they are not a dominant team that I don't think could possibly lose.
Well, there's a lot.
Like a 12 could be very easily in the championship game.
Yeah.
Like
But there's-
almost as easly as a 3 or
Since
4.
since NIL and the transfer portal, there is a lot more parity across college football, particularly
Most
across the
definitely.
power conferences, between power conferences, those teams getting into the playoff. There is going to be a lot more parity. I don't know that the playoff committee or most fans in general are ready or willing to accept it. Hasn't been proven out yet, but it's happening. It's happening that the teams are getting, the top teams are not greater than a lot of the teams coming up. And
Well,
we're just gonna see.
there's nobody that's completely invincible either.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is that
Yeah.
everybody's played games this year that it's like, all right, they're beatable except maybe Ohio State, but that might be because they haven't really played anybody yet.
Well, and that's because the playoff committee is also probably a lot of people, a lot of fans. I assume the playoff committee is looking at, well, how many players in the NFL? You hear that all the time. I come from Alabama, I come from Georgia, I come from Ohio State, right? And that may be true, but just as an example, look at Texas Tech's defense. How many players are they sending to the NFL?
Yeah.
Off
Even
of that,
us.
off of or BYU's defense.
I'm starting to feel like, there's
There's a
like
number of guys.
handful of guys that look like they're going to be NFL guys.
Yeah.
So, okay, I just quickly looked up Ohio State just to run through because you guys are talking about them like they are number one, right? So they beat Texas 14-7 first game of the year,
Which was a good win.
which is a good win. But Texas was ranked number one then.
Yeah.
And Texas definitely isn't number one, right? They're a good team, but they're,
Yeah.
you know, they beat Grambling. They beat Ohio. They beat Washington. None of those are a ranked team. They beat Minnesota, not ranked.
Washington's what, like 6, 7 wins?
Washington's decent, but the Big Ten's not very good in my opinion.
And then they beat Minnesota. Then they beat Illinois, which might be their biggest win. And then they beat Wisconsin. They beat Penn State, and they beat Purdue. So I think
The Big Ten is too big because they are not playing each other. Like
Yeah.
none of the top teams in the Big Ten have played each other, and it makes it really hard to know
how good anyone
how
team
good
is.
Right.
anybody is. in
and
the
that's
Big
what I'm
Ten.
saying.
I think
Ohio
the Big
State
Ten is the worst conference at that this year,
Yeah.
where it's like I think they've had 2 like separate games that have been top 25 matchups between 2 Big Ten.
Well, and it looked more like that when Penn State was supposed
Right,
to
was
be
supposed
good,
to be
right?
good. Mm-hmm.
And then they've kind of fallen off. And so you're like, oh, I don't know. Like, as I look through that, they just really don't feel like they've played
Yeah, they have
anyone. So,
Texas and
so they may be the best team out there. I'm
But-
not saying they're not. Well, I am because BYU is, but I just don't know that they're like, there's no proof to me that they're that
world
good.
beaters.
Yeah. Well, it was an exciting TCU game to wrap it up this episode, and we're going to talk about, if you pay attention in our next episode, we're gonna discuss the UConn BYU game, basketball game. So we'll review that.
Of NIL and parity.
Oh, man.
So we've got a lot of exciting things happening, and we really appreciate you for watching, for subscribing. Really helps us out. Beehive broadcast, our production team here is amazing, and we will look forward to you being here to join us at All In on Blue on our next episode. Thanks for watching.